everyone, welcome back to the channel. I have a follow-up from yesterday's video where we were talking about Square Enix selling off their studios such as Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics for just $300 million to the Embracer Group. So let's give it a read and see if this makes any more sense than it did yesterday. So the headline of one article is literally why Square Enix sold Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics for just $300 million, saying that Square Enix just doesn't want to spend money on AAA games anymore. As Square Enix just sold three of its biggest studios, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal, all have been sold to the Embracer Group for the relatively low price of $300 million in cold, hard cash. For the maker of AAA blockbusters like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and Guardians of the Galaxy, that seems like a seriously small amount of money. Yet Square Enix seems happy to take that money themselves and get rid of the studios. As in the article yesterday, it quotes the analyst just saying that these studios just weren't making Square Enix any money, but it goes into a bit more detail, saying that the profit margins running on Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal were far lower than Square Enix other studios in Japan. So, for example, Crystal Dynamics had an operating profit margin of 3.6%, while Eidos Montreal squeaked by just 0.65% in 2021. Square Enix overall had an operating profit of 14.2% last year, meaning they sold studios that were underperforming compared to the other companies working on stuff like Final Fantasy XIV and the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters for Android and mobile phones. The article says that it's not so much about the two studios underperforming, but it's more about the fact that these studios just make expensive games, and expensive games can take years to recoup the initial investments, and that's not something that Square Enix is looking to do anymore. Shadow of Tomb Raider, for example, cost between $110 million to $135 million to produce and market, making it one of the most expensive games ever made. By the time Crystal Dynamics celebrated the Tomb Raider franchise's 25th anniversary, with Shadow of the Tomb Raider had sold 9 million units, but it almost took 3 years to get there. Another example is Deus Ex Mankind Divided. It cost roughly $70 million to market and produce in 2016. When Deus Ex was released in 2016, it was a bit of a mess. It had all those DLCs and those different versions that nobody was really interested in. They just wanted the game. So when the game was released, it was a bit of a disappointment for Square Enix, as is often the case with Western games they've been releasing. However, by 2022, both the sales of Mankind Divided and Human Revolution totaled 12 million. So according to the Embracer Group, these are strong sales, and they themselves are positive in reusing or rebooting this IP. So hopefully we can get a decent Deus Ex game out in the next couple of years. We also have to take into account that Square Enix has routinely expressed disappointment and shat all over the Montreal-based studios producing their AAA experiences. This doesn't, especially if it doesn't immediately become a blockbuster hit. So like Guardians of the Galaxy, even though it was very popular with the critics and very well received and got a lot of Game of Year nominations, it undershot Square Enix's high sales expectations, so they want out. Even though 5 years from now it could be generating back that money spent, but it's not quick enough for Square Enix in 2022. It is not unusual for a big budget AAA title to take years to actually recoup their investments, though. This is something a game studio seems to have forgotten or not care about. So unless you're someone like Rockstar releasing a GTA 6, you are going to have to wait a few years to turn a profit on something you've released. Square Enix should be aware of this and the risks of AAA games. For every Final Fantasy 15 or Final Fantasy 14 that it makes, there are games like Strangers in Paradise, Babylon's Fall, and Marvel's Avengers that just have poor receptions, and they probably never make back their initial investments. Companies, in general, would want to go low risk, so their profits remain high. Eidos, Crystal Dynamics, and Square Enix Montreal aren't doing that for Square Enix, so they just got rid of them And it appears that Square Enix would rather put its money in these cheaper AA games they've been releasing, or into their mobile franchises, as stated in the previous unit, as the games can cost a lot to make and don't necessarily always sell the millions that they are looking at as sales targets. On top of that, Square Enix have had a bit of an interesting 2020, coming out saying that games shouldn't be fun, and they're looking to be investing more into like the blockchain and NFTs. This sale of these studios to the Embracer Group is no means a slight on the hard work and the sometimes excellent work these studios have made with games like Guardians of the Galaxy, the Tomb Raider reboots. So let's see what the Embracer Group can do with these IPs, as we do know a new Tomb Raider game is in very early development at Crystal Dynamics, and they are currently also working on the Perfect Dark reboot with the Initiative. So all we can do right now as gamers is wait and see what the Embracer Group does with these studios. I just wanted to put out another video quickly, as I'm trying to post something every day. Thank you very much if you've taken your time to listen or watch this video. From me to you, this video is game over.